Good morning, Imogen.
Good morning.
We're back at Books at Lunchtime at Kett's Books. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Yeah,
Excellent. You're supposed to be here. What's going on?
I am supposed to be here. It's very sad. Yeah, I've been isolating for 2 weeks.
Oh, you must be going stir crazy.
I am. Luckily I think it's the last day today.
Brilliant. Okay, well, we look forward to seeing you back here where you belong. Have you got some books to look at while you're at home?
I do. I have a big old stack of books.
A big old stack. Excellent. Are you? Are we going to be talking about teen books today?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. Excellent. Would you like to show me some, please?
Yeah.
I will say we do have a good selection here, but I've sent, because we knew Imogen was going to be isolating, we sent an awful lot of books to her house. So I don't have them. She's got them. So what have you got?
Well, this is a slightly shorter stack. I've kind of split them into more manageable stacks. The first one I've got here is Rebound by Kwame Alexander. And this is a really interesting book, mainly because it's written as poetry. And that is, I know we talked about it a bit before last time with Sarah Crossan, but it makes it a lot easier to go through it and read because it's so much shorter, it's so much, it flows a lot more. And I think there's a couple of pages of, I've forgotten the word for it now, comic strips on there is in there as well. This book is about Charlie, and he gets sent to his grandparents' house because he's making a lot of trouble, and he gets introduced to basketball, which might not be the most interesting thing to everyone, but it's a story about finding yourself and struggles of teen life and finding something to keep you out of trouble.
Right. Okay. I'm just going to. Right. Sorry about that. Had a delivery at the door. So Imogen, I think that sounds terrific. And I think basketball is actually a lot more accessible to an awful lot of people than you or I, but that's kind of a really good start for getting someone into a book who might not normally read. But then if you say it's not got very many words on the page, then that again is breaking down barriers. And if you say it's got a bit of sort of graphic novel bits, comic strip style, that's breaking down barriers. But then you use the P word, poetry. And so is that actually a problem, or can you just read the words and not worry about it being poetry?
I don't think it's a problem. I know I've had discussions with people before and they see it's poetry and they're like, oh, I don't want to read it because it's poetry and you have to, you go English and you have to analyze poetry. But you don't have to. You can just read it as a story. And I don't think that poetry should be a bad word in this sense. It just means that it flows nicer. It has an easy way to read it and you're not trying to think too hard about the words that are on the page.
I think that's right. I think the advice really is not to think about the words on the page or why they're arranged like that, but just to read those words and move on, and people will get an awful lot more out of it. So that sounds terrific. Where's Kwame Alexander from?
I don't actually know.
Okay, well, we can find out.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Excellent. So what else have you got for us?
The next book I have is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. And did this win? It did it win the Carnegie Award? Or was that?
I think it won a very important award. I think it was the Carnegie. I'm just going to look it up.
Yeah, I know it won an award, but I don't know if it was Carnegie.
Right. Okay. So, do you want to tell us something about it?
Yeah. So again, it is written in poetry. This time it makes more thematical sense, or it's about girl X who wants to get into slam poetry, and she comes from a very religious background in Harlem, and her mother does not approve of her choices at all. But she wants to get into slam poetry, and she's really good at it, and she writes all these poems, and her mother is so against it that it's become kind of, she has her two lives, one in which she is a poet and the other in which she is the daughter her mother wants her to be.
Right, okay. So that would be a really good one for people, for instance, fans of Angie Thomas with The Hate You Give.
Yes, yeah.
So, and when you said, did you say that she lives in Harlem, as in New York?
Yes.
Right, okay, so historically very run-down, poverty-stricken neighborhood, but it has had its own renaissance in the past with a lot of really important writers coming out of that. So it sounds like it's got a great literary tradition behind it, and to be a really good story. Is that written in poetry?
It is, yes. I think it makes a lot of sense for the story, as in she is a poet. She
Right.
wants to get into poetry, so it's been written in poems. Again, it's not, these are kind of longer poems, more something you would see more in slam poetry perhaps. They're not short, there are a couple of pages each, some of them are shorter obviously, but they're less like poems from the sense that Rebound is very short poems, but these are still follow that structure.
Okay, so the advice still being just to stick with it, read through it, stick with the flow. That sounds really good. And that did win the Carnegie, which is a very prestigious award. I'm just going to, I'll be back in just a moment. Right, so, okay, that's the Poet X. Sorry, what else have you got to show us? There's a lot going on in the shop this morning.
Yes. I also have Deeplight by Frances Hardinge.
It has such a beautiful cover, doesn't it?
All of her covers are beautiful. This one is especially nice, I think. I haven't personally read this one yet. I've read lots of other of her books, like The Lie Tree and Cookie Song, which I have right next to me anyway. But her style of writing is so interesting. It's, if you're looking at YA and trying to get into more adult style writing, I would recommend her. I think it's, while it is a teen novel, it is written from the style of a more adult novel. Her writing style is a lot older, I think.
Right.
I found that it does take a little while to get into some of her books sometimes, but when you do get into them, you cannot put them down.
Okay. Okay, so with this one and the books before, I was going to ask, are there any scenes that you know of, or in the books that she's written that you've read, that we would need to be particularly wary of if someone had sort of tricky issues at home?
I think the Poet X, you might want to be a bit careful because it does cover, mother-daughter issues that can get a bit not violent, but it's going that way. This one, I don't know. This one just says it's about a friendship.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that bad. Rebound again is kind of parental issues, but
okay. And I think in teen section we want there to be quite a lot of tension and reality and grit, but there are some issues that some readers would find might stir up things that we don't want stirred up. So okay, that's useful to know.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything specifically in these. I know there's another one that has got warnings, but these ones that I've got here don't specifically have anything that I think would bring up major issues.
Okay, good. That's useful to know. Okay, do you have another?
Yes, I do. I have 4 more in this
stack. My. Right.
So this next one is A Sky Painted Gold by Laura Wood. This is a couple of years old now, but it's still, it's not been out for years. This one is set in 1929, and it's about a girl called Lou, and she is swept into this world of kind of not royalty, but very rich, powerful people and their mansions, and it's a whirlwind romantic kind of novel. It's one of the few romantic novels I have read.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So is it sort of, is it just straightforward fiction? Does it have any fantasy in it? Because it looks like it's a bit otherworldly by the cover.
It does. The cover is very interesting. It is just I think it is historical fiction mainly, or not historical. It's set in 1929, but yeah, it is based mostly in fiction. The cover is a bit misleading. I don't think there's that much. I can't think of anything where it's actually fantasy, but
okay. But you've read this, and
yes.
you say that it is a bit of a romance, but it's not. It doesn't sound like it's chick lit.
No, it's gets swept up in this world of magic, and you end up falling in love with someone.
Okay.
Big old house, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so I suppose the even the most stable of non-fantasy people can still fall in love, can't they?
Yeah.
Excellent. Right. Okay. Just as you right. Okay. Saturday morning in a bookshop. How exciting. Right. What else have you got?
I have Truth About Keeping Secrets by
Ooh.
Savannah Brown. This is one of my own books here, so it might look a bit old. And this one is about, it is murder mystery, and it does cover themes of grief. So if that's something that's you might want to be careful of that. But this book is about the town therapist has been murdered, has been found dead. He knows everyone's secrets, so it's kind of, is he dead because he knows a secret about someone that he shouldn't do?
Mm.
And his daughter, Sydney, makes friends with the homecoming queen a few years ago, June. And she appears at his funeral, even though she's not invited and isn't there. And the two of these girls, they become friends and they try and solve the mystery of Sydney's dad's death and try and work out why and who would want him to be killed for what he knows.
Right. Okay. So would you call this sort of crime fiction? Because we don't normally say teen crime. We say teen fiction with crime. But
yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of murder mysteries and crime novels. So I don't know. I just call them all either murder mysteries or just crime novels.
okay.
Yeah.
Because this is more about the girls solving the mystery than about sort of a police detective.
Yeah, and it's about the girls' secrets themselves as well and what they're hiding from each other.
Right. Okay. Well, that sounds like fiction with a crime, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That sounds really intriguing. And how old is that?
This is a couple of years old. It's last year, it's 2019.
Okay, that's great. Okay, super. And it's in paperback. Right. Okay.
Yeah. The next one I have is Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen McManus.
She's written loads of books for teens, hasn't she?
Yes, this is the sequel to One of Us is Lying. It's very much like small town crime, keep having mysteries or murders that happen in this one town, and it's the same characters, the same kind of story, but in the future with a different person and different motives.
So
you're series of books.
You're grinning a little more when you've picked this up. Did you really enjoy this?
I did really enjoy this. Yeah, it's rather tattered at the top, but I do try and look after my books.
No, well, it's better to have a book that looks like it's been enjoyed than one that's pristine and has never been read.
Yeah, I mean, she is, if you want to get into teen fiction or more murder mystery books, she's a really good place to start.
Yeah.
They're quite easy to follow because you get some books, mystery books, where you have to think really hard about what's happening and which characters are related to who, but this one is quite easy to follow.
Right. Okay, brilliant. And I take it they solve the mystery in the end.
Yes.
Yeah, excellent.
We always do with this kind of thing.
Yes, I loved seeing you just, your eyes lit up when you held that book. Right, okay, so that's kind of a glowing recommendation for all of Karen McManus's books then.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And the last one I have here is The Hour of the Bees by Lindsay Edgar.
Well, that's got a beautiful cover.
It is. It's really sweet, and the back cover is a bit more dire, if you will. But this story is about Carol moving to her grandfather's lodge in the middle of the desert. He's got dementia, and it's really hot, and she thinks she's hallucinating, seeing these bees fly around. But her grandfather tells her all these stories of the bees, and it appears that history is repeating itself.
Ooh.
And there is a big twist in the end, in the last few chapters, that you will not see coming.
Right. Okay. Again, you've got a mischievous grin, so I'm just using your facial expression as a wholehearted recommendation here. So,
yeah,
and
it's one of those books where you pick it up and you think, I think I had to try a couple of times to get through the beginning, but once you get in there, there is so much. If you want to think about this, there's so much which written within the lines that you can infer and you can think about that makes this book so much more interesting.
Right. Okay. So just before you go, tell me about reading age on these. Do you think that, or reading ability, do you think that sort of your average year 10, 11 would be able to cope with sort of book length, sentence structure?
I mean, none of these books are particularly big. They're quite small. But I don't read. I'm not too sure on reading age ever, because I was reading. I read Dan Brown when I was in year 8. So I never know what to say when someone says, "How old should you be to read this book?" Because I read books really early.
But you've met some year 10s, haven't you?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, all of these books you could read. I would say maybe year 9-ish.
Yeah.
You can read a book if you feel comfortable reading that kind of book whenever you want, but some of the themes in these books, if you're thinking about murder and stuff, you might want to be a bit older to read it.
Yeah, that's a fair point. There's content and ability, isn't there? There's two really separate issues. So because I've talked to parents who say my child is 6, and I want her to read the Book of Dust, and because she can, and I say, well, I'm sorry, I'm not going to sell you that book.
No, just because you can read something doesn't always mean that you should.
No. So, right. Well, that looks like a brilliant selection, Imogen, and I wish you many happy days outdoors after today, after your isolation, and we look forward to seeing you back in the shop. Thanks for showing us around the books.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.